Now, a way to generate another 45-degree angle, if that makes sense. We're talking about angles in different planes here. We're talking about the angle to this plane. We're talking about the angle here. All right. I guess we could look at it as a plane here, a plane here, and then the direction at which I'm going to go. So if I go downhill to the grain at a 45-degree angle, cutting off the tips of the grain into supported grain behind it, that's when I'm going to get one of my best cuts. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. I'm going to present this tool in that fashion. I'm going to make a little cut. And I'm going to present another tool, and I'm going to follow that same rule and make another cut. Let's see what kind of results we get. Okay, there's my 45. The bottom side of my tool is facing up a little bit at about approximately a 45 as best as I can tell. And when I push this in, it's going to slice, and then I'll be able to ride that bevel. Okay, look at that cut. Beautiful, ready for sandpaper already. If it were to be the profile that I want to make. All right, now let's go to a spindle gouge. Okay, spindle gouge is a little bit different, but I'm still trying to present the tool into that wood at approximately a 45 with the bottom angle of my cutter being about like that, and I'm going to try to move it a 45 degree again. Now with this one, really to ride the bevel, I kind of need to bring it back this way and do a push cut. I'm not going to do a push cut, but by sliding downhill, it will still leave me a quite clean cut because I'm cutting into a supported grain. I'm not going to be able to follow the bevel quite as well, but still, watch the effect. Okay, there's my 45. The bottom side of my cutter is facing this direction. And I have, so long as I keep my cut on this side of the blade, because I'm rotated over at approximately a 45-degree angle, plus or minus, because it's cutting over here, the force on that cut is going to rotate it, this way. But as soon as I get those forces out past the tip and I get it out over here, there's no way to stop it. It's going to snap over, roll, and catch. So there's my 45. The bottom of the tool is approximately at a 45, or the bottom bevel, the bottom edge of the blade, if we call it that. So that's a little bit deep of a cut for that one. All right, that's more of a push cut. If I was going to do this to follow the bevel, I would bring it around this way, adjust my angle a little bit, but I'm still considering all those things. Okay, I followed the bevel on that last cut. And look at the shavings that came off from it. Look at how clean that cut is. It's a beautiful, clean cut. Well, I think carbide tools are fantastic if they're used right. If they're used strictly as a scraper into the wood, you're not going to enjoy it. It's not going to be fun. But if I follow the rule of 45 degrees for slicing wood, and I present that tool like that, it is going to cut nicely. Now the back of my blade, I forget what this angle is. Well, let's call it 60 degrees. But anyway, if I have this rotated at approximately a 45, that's going to present the bottom side of that blade at about a 45 coming into the wood. That's what we want. And we're going to slide down at a 45. Okay, this is the 8.9 millimeter carbide cutter. I've taken all my carbide tools, cleaned off the edges, rounded them off, rounded the tip off so I can enter into the wood deeper. And there's my 45. My handle's dropped. I'm going to cut right here on the downhill side of the tip. And I'm just going to take a slight cut. And then when I slide it in, I can actually ride this. I'm not going to call it really the bevel, but it is kind of a bevel. But it's where I rounded off that tool right there. Okay, so I can slide it in. And right there, I'm actually bumping up against this. So if I want to make a deeper cut, I got to drop the handle just a little bit. Okay, that's another very good slicing cut. All right, I can go larger. I have a 12 millimeter carbide cutter. You're going to use the same concept. Very clean cut. If I were to have done that just flat on the tool rest and in like that, when I get around to this end grain coming in, it is, see how that end grain is coming in like this, and when it drops like that, I'm going right into the unsupported grain right on the end. That's Cat City. That's going to just tear that out. But if I tilt it at a 45 degrees, slice down grain, and have that angle on the back at the right angle, I'm going to slice that wood off. Carbide tools are amazing. I'm going to do it over here, okay? I'm going to leave my drawing on there. See those shavings coming off? Clean cut. All right, versus that presented flat. People have been told to only use their carbide cutting tools flat on the rest, horizontal with the handle. Nothing could be further from the truth. That is not a thing. That is not real. That is not the truth. I'm telling you the truth. They are so much more elegant than that. It's not even funny. They're miraculous, honestly. And if you don't know how to sharpen your traditional tools like your bowl gouges and your spindle gouges, which is a difficult chore, I struggled with it to understand the ins and outs of sharpening, which I've got pretty much figured out by now. But that's a big learning curve. Carbide tools, you don't need that learning curve. You can go right to slicing the wood. Do I love my bowl gouges? Absolutely. Do I love my spindle gouges? Absolutely. But do I love my carbide equally as well? Absolutely. Okay, this is the large 16 millimeter cutter. Again, rotated. Just to reinforce the subject, it's rotated. So I'm basically coming into there at a 45. And basically the back edge of my blade is coming in at a 45. So I'm getting a nice clean cut. Nice shaves. Okay. Because look at that. That's beautiful. Because a carbide tool does not need to be resharpened much, that gives it an advantage. In fact, I can do 10 or 15 bowls before I need to even rotate my tip to get a fresh cutting surface. And once I rotate it once or twice, then I just take it off and I sharpen it. So I literally can do like 10 bowls on this side of the cutter. Of course, sometimes I'm turning it over and cutting over here, but mostly I'm doing pull cuts over here with carbide. Okay? Once this gets a little bit dull, but dull for these is still going to be reasonably sharp, okay? Versus I can run my bowl gouge in certain woods and they can be dull even though I'm making good cuts in a minute or two. Some woods I can go multiple bowls. Depends on the wood. But carbide, I can still go like 10 bowls before I need to rotate this head. To get a fresh cutting surface, I'm good to go. Usually about 3 rotations on a carbide blade.